Hi Artsies, I'm Mrs. B. Welcome to Umaarteng Penmanship. In this video, I will teach you how to calligraphy using watercolors. I know that some of you may not have brush pens yet, but you may have watercolor that you could probably have at home, or you can also have a younger brother or sister, niece or nephew who uses watercolors. If you are new to my channel, I create calligraphy tutorials, so if you like those kinds of videos, please hit the subscribe button because I have a new video every Friday, and you could also smash the notification bell so you would be updated with my latest uploads. So get your art supplies and let's get started! Alright Artsies, so before we start our tutorial, I would like to show you the materials that we will be using for this video. I will be using my Mungyo professional watercolors. It is in pan set in 48 colors. So it is a professional watercolors, but you don't have to for watercolor calligraphy. The reason that I have professional pan set because I am exploring watercolor painting, so I am using this. I started with student grade watercolor pan set in 12 colors that is less than $1 or in 45 to 49 pesos in national bookstore. So you don't have to get a professional pan set. Again, the reason that I have this because I am also doing watercolor painting. Okay, the next thing that we will be using would be student grade watercolor paper. This is Fabriano. It is cold press. It is better to use cold press even in calligraphy. This is 200 GSM. You could use different brand what you have, but cold press is still good. Alright, you cannot use, or it's not advisable to use artist grade watercolor paper in watercolor calligraphy because it doesn't do the colors or the letters well. Okay, so I will be using, and it's better to use a student grade watercolor paper. Okay, so aside from that, we can use either a watercolor paintbrush. Okay, this is in size 2. This is Kolinsky sable watercolor brush, but you could use any watercolor paintbrush in size 2 or below 0 to 2. It's the best because for a size 2 the letters can be big already, so you really need a small brush for watercolor calligraphy, unless if you would need to write big letters, then you could use different sizes for a watercolor brush or paintbrush. We could also use Waterbrush. Okay, this is Waterbrush that you can put water in it. It's also good for traveling. Also for this tutorial, since we will be using watercolors, we need 2 cups of water. Alright, one is for your dirty cup that you could clean, and another extra clean water for extra cleaning your brushes. Also, we will be needing a paper towel. Okay, since we will be using watercolor pan set, the technique to make watercolor calligraphy is to turn these pan set or these watercolor into liquid form. Okay, for those who are doing watercolors, it is best to have in tea to milk consistency. It means that there should be lots of water with your paint. Okay, so that's the technique. I am using this because this is the one that I have and I am using, and yeah, I started with a very cheap student grade watercolor. That's fine. You may also use liquid watercolors like brands Ecoline or Dr. P.H. Martin's, but since I don't want to buy lots of materials, I'm satisfied with the materials that I have. Okay, so you could use one color of different shades. So like here, I have here different greens: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are my greens in my watercolor pan set. You could use one color of different shades, or you could use one shade and you can make it in different values. Okay, you can do that, or you could use different colors in your pan set or in your watercolor, as long as it follows the color wheel, or else it will turn brown. Like for example, you do not want to have your, for example, you are writing a sentence or a word and you will be using green, and then their next letter would be red. You don't want to do that, because if you do that, the green and the red are in the opposite of the watercolor wheel and it will turn brown. So we do not want to have that. So now we will be doing watercolor calligraphy. I will be starting with the drills. Okay, if you haven't seen my drills for watercolor calligraphy, you can check it on my playlist. Okay, so before we start, on the previous videos you saw me doing calligraphy with Pentel Fuge Touch, and sometimes you saw me doing calligraphy with Palette Petite 3. I think I also used Pigma FB also. So these are my favorite calligraphy brush pens that I'm using, because these brushes are small. So I like these very much. Okay, so I will show you the difference first between the brush pen and the paintbrush. Okay, so let's start. Okay, for calligraphy, remember that we need to have this thin upstrokes and thick downstrokes. Okay, so that's what we need to achieve. And the watercolor calligraphy, you don't have to do much effort or adding more pressure when you do the downstroke. Alright, because these watercolor paintbrush is very smooth. Okay, whatever brand you would be using, it's very flexible. The brush pen is not that flexible. Okay, I will show you closer. Oops. Okay, it's not that flexible. There, see, it cannot blend that much, but with the watercolor paintbrush, see, you can bend it easily. Same with the water brush that we have. Okay, so in order to make thick strokes or thick down strokes, you don't need to press harder or add more pressure, just a little pressure. So I have here used watercolor paint, so I will be using this. Okay, let's say I'll be using orange. I will be adding more water into it. Again, we need to turn the watercolor into liquid form. You need to have lots of water in it. Okay, so for thin upstroke and thick downstroke, see, if just a little pressure and you get this thick stroke. Okay, there I am. Let me try it again. This is closer look. So thin upstroke, and let's do it again. There. Also, the paintbrush that I am using is very pointy. If you can see, it has really pointed edge. Okay, so it's not It's a round brush, but it's really pointy, so I don't have to do much effort in doing thin upstroke that we do in brush pens that we do in brush pens, because you really need to have control in doing upstroke in brush pens. But for watercolor paintbrush, especially with pointed tip like this, you don't need to do much effort. Okay, so for thick downstroke, okay, so it's very thick. You can, if you press more, it becomes thick as well, or thicker, I mean. So for you to avoid, but I suggest to avoid these thick strokes, you can do as thick as this, or a little thinner. Okay, so let's do other strokes, like when we do an overturn. Okay, there. You could also do underturn. Okay. You can also do these compound curve. Right. You can add more colors if you want to. Okay, to make it thick. Alright, there, or to see the colors. Okay, there you go. You can, let's do also ascending loop. Okay, there you go. And descending loop. There. You could add, you could practice more by filling the whole sheet of this paper, or of your paper. For the brush, for the watercolor brush, okay, this one is good especially when you are traveling. So you can put in water to it. I also use this for activating my watercolors, because it can easily just press it and drop the water. All right, so this is a small one. I know that it's not branded, so but if you will buy branded water brush, you will also get smaller than this. If you are in the Philippines, you could buy this in Shopee or in Lazada for 100 or 150 pesos, and that's for 3 sizes already. So using this, like let's use green. Okay, I'm just pressing this and drip some water. Okay. So if you like to travel, you want to bring your art materials with you, this is really helpful. This is also convenient. Okay, so let's try. So as I mentioned earlier, you need to make the liquid. You need to make your watercolors liquid as this. Okay, in tea or milk consistency. You need to make it in a liquid form to do letters. Okay, so let's try this for thin upstroke, and let's do thick downstroke. It's a little pressure only, because if you do more pressure, you will get thicker line, and you do not want to do that. You just want to have the right thickness for your letters. Like when we write, when we do calligraphy, like let's say A there, There you go. Okay, so you do not want to have thick lines too much because it doesn't look nice. Okay, I will show you something that I made before. Okay. So I did this. Okay, difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. Okay, so for this artwork, I did blending with the greens and the blues. Okay. Okay, this one, I did this with a small paintbrush. Okay, for the calligraphy. Okay, if you can see, there are some parts here that has less paint. If you can see, it's very light, and you can make it darker. It depends on you. If you want to have some words emphasized, you can do that in watercolor. That is not you can do with the calligraphy brush pens. Okay. And this is my painting. This is also this painting I made in calligraphy with the student grade watercolor paper. I did not use artist grade here because the tree that I make here, it makes like a big bulb of paint, so it doesn't do much texture. But then expect that I will be using watercolor in more of my tutorials. I hope you learned something today. If you like this video, please hit the like button and remember to subscribe to my channel so that you will get more calligraphy tutorials. Remember that practice makes perfect, perfect makes permanent, so keep on practicing, keep on writing. Till next time!